Hi, I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. I just put out this video. It is a little musical piece I made up while I was still buzzing from playing the last show of the year in Malta. And many of you wanted to know, what are those drums? And the easy answer would be to say it's the Roland TR-606, but that already becomes complicated because mine was modded to be a TR-608, and I made that video and you can watch that here. No, here. But saying it's a modded TR-606 would also not be the truth, because much of the sound of the drums comes from a rather esoteric way of processing I employ here. And that's too much to write. So here's a video on my process of drum processing. And I'm gonna get to the reason why I do all of this after I show you how it works. The first step in the processing of the TR-606 is the Korg Traveler filter, which adds a bit of life and modulation to the signal. This makes the drum machine breathe a bit more and it becomes less repetitive. Next step in the processing is the Soundgas 636P preamp. This is a recreation of a germanium preamp used in an old British spring reverb. It is my go-to preamp for any instrument, and on the drums I use it to add body and to completely crush them. The next step in the processing is this huge Hewlett & Packard Spectrum analyzer. This is a high-gain amplifier with a frequency shifter and a bandpass filter. The spectrum analyzer is a process I run in parallel, meaning I can mix it in because it's on a subgroup of the mixer and not on an insert of the drum channel. But what about the bass drum, Heinbach? Well, the bass drum is down here. I'm running it through Rode and Schwarz UBM Mark I, the very first version. It takes the bass drum from the TR-606, amplifies it, and also filters it. And that filter is in itself a wonderful bass drum. There are endless combinations here. If I then feel everything needs more, I run it to this one-of-a-kind lock amplifier based on vacuum tubes. The drums and the whole track run through the master bus, which contains of vintage German broadcast equipment. There are two Ackmiller V86 equalizers paired with TAB V72As and a Siemens U273B compressor. There was a lot of low-end distortion when using the EQs and the compressors, and that is something that happens because all these analog stages here are slightly getting overdriven, and that is something I have to very much adjust and spend a long time getting it right. The gain staging between the different types of distortion and bass boosts. And in this demo I wasn't that careful. In the DAW I then used dials, the test equipment channel strip I made with AudioThing. Why do I embark on such a complicated process to shape something as simple as a 606? Well, when I started out making music, I scrolled through sounds upon sounds upon sounds, and it wasn't even as many as there are available today, because back in the day all were CDs that came with keyboards or keys magazines, and that was something that was at first exciting, but then it became rather boring. So I started making my own sounds, and these worked always better than anything else that I could find on a sample CD. Then I got into modular synthesizers, and what is a drum and what is a melody instrument became fluent thanks to the power of control voltage. But there's a lot to be said about the simple shuffle and the simple programmability and usability of the 606. The shuffle alone that it puts out makes every track I use it in just that bit more danceable, if that's what I do with my music here even. But a 606 in its stock mode will always sound like a 606. There's nothing that is me about the sound, even though I might do the rhythms and such, but the sound itself is pretty much as every 606 ever. So even after modding it, I needed to find ways to make things my sound, because that's one of the most important parts in finding your voice as a musician. finding your tone, finding your voice, finding your sound. And to me, that came from all these esoteric pieces of equipment. And it's not like that I sat down and bought all of these at once and said, now this is gonna be my sound. No, it's something that evolved over years and over time. This obsession with having my own sound extends to the plugins that I make, because they're an extension of the studio into the virtual world. That is something why Dials is so important, because it takes many things I learned from working with these layers upon layers of filters and distortion and puts them into something, very compact and something that I can just throw on my laptop, so I can replace many of the functionality and sound of these devices with it. Secondly, all these things, they just sound very, very good and are so fun to play with all their big dials and their little surprises in different settings as I'm on the floor twisting these dials, and it's like playing Legos on the carpet as a kid. The whole process is very inspiring, much more so than being a selector diving through Excel sheets of endless snares, kicks and hi-hats, as fantastic as these might sound. If you want a soundtrack from today's video, it is up on my Patreon. And you can get the track, of course, that I played at the beginning there too. And Dials is on winter sale. And it also came out for Linux just now. If you have a special way in which you process things and would like to share that, please post it in the comments. I'm always curious about how other artists approach mangling, distorting, transforming sound. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.